All right, let's have a look at one post. I was thinking, instead of just typing some instructions on text, also let's record this. So the question here essentially is about creating materials and then figuring out how to change them programmatically. How to create a specific material, I already wrote a script for a short example here on my website, or one of my websites, creating a specific material. So in this example I show how to create a paint material GUID, a paint material using the GUID for it. But in the same vein, you can create like plastic material. Like the user here is asking, so he wants to create a plastic material, somewhere earlier already mentioned, and that's not possible. Now it's also the question of how to change essentially. Let's click this open. So change the bump texture and the scale of it, and we can do that by scripting or writing plugins. But I was thinking of showing how you could find out what these parameters are for materials, and this is going to work for all material types, essentially, at least the ones that are provided by Rhino. So I have here already an empty file in which I have added a plastic material, and to figure out what is in it, I'm going to save this material as a file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to that's a different way. I'm going to move away this a bit, this like so. So I'm going to save this file or this material as a file. I'm going to do that just by dragging and dropping. I could also do right click and save to file. Anyway, I've now the material saved, the plastic one, as an RMTL file, and this file I'm going to open in a text editor. So here we have the file opened, and when we look in it, it's essentially just an XML file. It has some information like the material tag. It tells us it's an RDK plastic material, whether it's for a specific render engine, what the plugin for it is that created it, and so on. The most important or most interesting stuff we want to look at is in the parameters tag, and for the question, the bump and the scale are these two tags. So we have a bump type that has a string, and a bump scale, also a number in this case. So let's change the material a bit and resave it on top of the one we just opened. Rescale this, resize this image, this window a bit. So let's see, we have here, let's change the color a bit. We can see what the color change is to more orange, because I like orange. Let's tone down the reflectivity a bit, increase the transparency, change the clarity as well, and then the two that we are actually interested in, bump, let's put it to leather. No, that's not leather, and change the scale to, for instance, extra small. Right, so let me get my file explorer again. So let's save this file again, erase it. Let's check what happened here. So now we have the parameters changed, so a different color. Let's not change like this. So we have the color changed, bump type is changed, so that's the texture, bump scale, polish amount, transparency, or reflectivity. So what this means is that we can actually use the get and set parameter functions on a render content. In this case, our render content is going to be a render material. So let's go back to our Rhino and start doing a short script. I've done many scripts, so let's create a new one. I'm going to use script context because that's a module that gives access to the document, and I like to import it as SC. So our materials, render materials, even if they are not assigned to objects, can be accessed through the render materials table in the document. So just as a quick example, for render material in sc.doc.render materials, there we go, print rm. We have now only one, but still it's easier to just iterate through it. So what I'm now going to do is we're going to take just the first one, the only one we have, and I'm going to actually use this way. So if rm equals, and I'm going to do a quick list comprehension material in m for sc.doc.render materials, and then I'm going to take the first one out of it. I know this is going to work, but in real code you should always do checks. So again, just print rm. It's giving our, did I do something wrong? M4. What am I doing? I'm probably misremembering this. I'm just drawing a tiny blank, so let me do this at m for m in, so that's just the wrong way around. Sorry about that. Brain fart. So we have now our render material, and right now I know this is a plastic material, so I'm not going to do any further checks, but under render material there is this get parameter and set parameter. Let's first do get parameter, and this takes a string, and that's going to be the name of the parameter. And as we saw here in the text editor, Visual Studio Code, we have parameters with these names: reflectivity, transparency, polish amount, bump scale, bump type, and color. So we're now going to just get bump type and bump scale. And I said they need to be strings, they are keys essentially. So bump type. Well, let's print that. Print and print rm.get parameter bump scale. Let's run that. And these are variants. So what this means is that we need to get still the value out of this. Let me see if I can remember well how to do this on Python. Normally I just set parameters. I'm not sure if this is going to work. I have to figure out a bit. Let me quickly check the documentation, just a moment. So this is going to be a variant. I'm searching in my documentation now. Or maybe I should do that on screen, just a moment. Let's go search it here. Variant. Variant. Oh man. It helps when the fingers are positioned correctly. So a variant is going to be down here. RSTU. Or is it just struct? Actually, I think this is not going to be documented properly, because our get parameter actually gives an object in our let me do this way. So we have render content. Let me scroll back up. Sorry for the quick going back and forth. I should not do that. Render content, and there will be a get parameter function. So we are scrolling down to get parameter, and it will give us an object. Of course, behind the scenes it's a variant, but there is no direct exposing of the variant in our API. Personally, I think it's a bit of a shame. It makes things quite hard that we don't have the variant in there properly. But we have to go through iConvertible then. I mean, system convert to string and to double, I guess. Oh, let me get Rhino back. We're going to do now some iteration of this as I try to remember how to do this. Oh. So this is going to be maybe import system, and then we need to do system.convert.toString here, because it's a type, and down here this is going to be system.convert to int. I guess it's going to be to int 32. Let's see if that's going to work. Yes, so this is how we can get out the information from parameters. But in this case we want to change it. Let's actually resave this one more time with a different name. Let's do grid. Where's my file explorer? It's over here. So let's resave it. Let's replace and check in our Visual Studio Code editor. And it's going to be, oh, that's not really useful. Let me reopen this. Save. And let me reopen the file. So it's grid. Let's have code that's going to. So it's now on grid. Let's now change it back to leather. So use setting a parameter, then uses the set parameter API. Let me go to my documentation back. So we have get parameter, and then there is going to be set parameter. Let's pull it up. And it's going to be like this. So we give the parameter name and then the value. Since we're doing now just Python, this is going to be boxed automatically for us. So rm dot set parameter bump type, and that's going to be a string leather. And let's also change the bump scale to say 0 maybe. Oh, that's going to be just the number, the value. So like this. So now if I wait, so I think I still need to tell Rhino first to begin changes. So begin change method. Before we set the parameter, we do rm begin a change, and then we have to give the change context. Let's go back to the, so it's Rhino render content, change contexts, and we don't want to do program because we're doing this as a program, as a script. So let me think. I'm going to import Rhino render, import Rhino render as RR, and then this is going to be RR dot render content, I believe it was render content change context. RR render content change contexts dot program, and then after our changes I need to tell Rhino that I'm done. So end change, this one here, end change, ends a batch of changes. So let's see how this is working now in Rhino. So at the moment it's in grid and XS. Okay, does that work? Yes, so now we are on leather, and 0 is going to be the first one. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You may recall from the beginning of this video, bump scale was on 4. So this is from 0 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 10 different scale sizes. So you can use the names in here, the English names. I believe this should work also on versions that are localized. So if a user is using a different language, French, Korean or whatever, I believe this still should be in English for the code. So let's put in one we haven't seen yet, so as a test. So let's put in speckle, and then for instance 6. Let's run this, and yes, we are on speckle and on the 6th, or on the 7th actually, the list with index, the item with index 6 in the list. So XL. And this very same way you can change also the other settings. So create your render material, and then especially if you are using one of these pre-made versions, plastic, paint, metal, glass, gem, you can always, to figure out what the parameters are named. So let's take this metal for instance. Where's my browser? So metal, let's save that one as a file, and let's also do why not gem? Right, and then let's get back to our editor. Where's my editor? It's here. let's open the gem and the metal. So first the gem. So it's only one parameter. It's the type tag, which is a string. In this case it's set to amber. Looks to be a bit inconsistent actually in values, because it's in the interface it's with capital, but here as value it's lowercase. I mean in the RMTL, whereas for plastic it's the same between the two. So it's best to save out a material you're interested in to change via code, and then check what is in there. So here's also bump type, bump scale for metal, polish amount, and the color. I think that's it for this video. So again, small recap. You can set parameters of a material, a Rhino material, by using the set parameter method on a random material instance. You need to figure out the parameter name, and then what the range is of input values for those parameters. And the easiest way to do that is by saving the render materials to a file and then opening those and inspecting those. Look for the parameter section. I hope that's useful for you. Have fun coding with Rhino.